Okay, would we all please stand for the invocation provided by Commissioner Barr, and then we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Bow in an attitude of prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day once again in Washington County. Thank you for the opportunity to serve others. Lord, guide us, direct us, and use us. We think especially this morning of the difficulties across the ocean with the terrorist attacks. Lord, we just pray for the victims and their families. Just such horrible senselessness. We just pray that, Lord, that we can continue to work on peace and civility. Direct us and guide us here today. We pray in thy name.
Amen. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to call the May 23rd, 2017 Washington County Commissioners meeting to order. With that, I'd like to ask for the approval of the May 16th minutes. That was already provided.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion a second for the approval of the May 16th, 2017 minutes. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Commissioners' reports and comments. Commissioner Kiefer.
I had an opportunity to speak at the HCC graduation. I guess it was last weekend, and then this weekend was the USMH graduation. So it's two good institutions we have in our community. The degrees that they award are fantastic, and the students' individual stories were amazing. Many of the students were called upon to share kind of an obstacle in their life that may have prevented someone from graduating from college, but it didn't prevent them. So that was very inspiring to hear and be part of.
Anything else?
That's
Thank you.
No comments today.
Commissioner Myers? Commissioner Barr?
Oh, yes. I guess it was last Thursday. Attended Governor Hogan's first Economic Development Summit in downtown Baltimore. A very nice venue. It was a wonderful day. To my surprise, I guess I didn't communicate very well when I had scheduled to attend that event about a month out, I'm standing there in the lobby with 700 people, and the first person I run into is Linda Spence from our own economic development, and then the list continued. Our county exec, Rob Slocum, and the list goes on. So Cassie Lewis and others. So I think it was well attended by your staff and this county. Had a lot of nice discussions and important venues that are taking place across the state. One conversation in particular, I had spent a fair amount of time with Kelly Schultz, Maryland Secretary of DLLR. Kelly has reached out and asked that we get back to her and invite her to a commissioners meeting specifically. And one of the things that she'd like to talk to us about is expanding the youth apprenticeship program here in Washington County. So I think I've talked to Rob. I'd like to set up some kind of arrangement and maybe have Tech High staff come and join with us when Kelly can, work in her schedule to come here. So,
and with Sarah, Krista has already started the arrangements for that meeting.
okay.
I think we're in the July timeframe, if not mistaken, but we have reached out.
Okay, wonderful. Kelly Schultz did specifically say to me, there's in Frederick County, they have like 60 students, let me back up for a second. There's room for 60 students in Washington County, and to the best of her knowledge right now, there's only 2 that are active in the program. Frederick County is maxed out, whatever their numbers are, but apparently the program's doing quite well in Frederick County, and she would like to see Washington County match or exceed what's going on to the east of us. So, and I had forgotten, I guess Mr. Phillips has retired from the school board, and
Yes,
and
but we're working with Mr. Stauffer,
okay,
Principal Stauffer.
very good. So, just obviously in July sometime, we'll be following up with that. So, again, it was a full day. It was a good day. Governor Hogan was there. Of course, Mike Gill was, I guess you'd say, master of ceremonies, and he's always upbeat. I don't think he ever has a down day. And there was a lot of buzz in the room, and it was the last speaker of the day was John Harbaugh, coach of the Ravens, and it was still a packed house. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. For myself, Department of Social Service meeting this week, Director Mike Piercy was at an event, I guess department heads from all across the country with Department of Service programs. Anyhow, they all met for a convention down in Biloxi, Mississippi. And he was talking to one of the directors, or maybe a federal director, I can't recall if he said federal or just state. But anyhow, he was talking to him about where he was from, and as soon as he said Hagerstown, the guy said the Washington County Commissioners' working relationship with the Department of Social Services is outstanding in your community. And I just thought that was something really, really nice that Mike brought out at the meeting yesterday, that as soon as he said Hagerstown, Maryland, its director from California talked about the relationship between the Washington County Commissioners and the Department of Social Services Department, and all of the great things that we do for our much-needed community here in Washington County. So that wanted to thank Mike for sharing that with me last evening. So that concludes my announcements. Anything else? Okay, moving right forward, reports from county staff. We have any staff here today care to report? Yes, sir. Mr. Summers, how are you this morning?
Good morning. Gentlemen, I'm here to report that the Washington County Division of Emergency Services has entered into a partnership with a new private social media firm called Nextdoor. And what Nextdoor is a community bulletin board where neighbors in certain communities will announce efforts they have going on, or they may have lost a cat, or they were looking for somebody to mow their lawn or do chores. But also what Nextdoor allows us to do in emergency management is to contact all of those neighborhoods and all of those citizens in Washington County to allow us to disseminate information in time of emergency. Right now, there's 137,000 neighborhoods in the United States on Nextdoor. In Washington County, there's 27 with about 3,000 people enrolled, but at this rate, we're enrolling almost 200 people a month in Washington County. So where Facebook became that link between people to people, this will become a link between neighborhoods to neighborhoods and allow us as government to contact those neighborhoods in time of emergency and disseminate some life-saving information. So I think it's a good endeavor. Look forward to going forward with Nextdoor on this, and if you have any questions, I'm here to try to answer them.
Any questions for Mr. Summers? Thank you very much for the information. Have any other staff here today that have anything to report? Okay, no further staff comments. Let's move to citizens' participation. We have any citizens here today that would care to participate? Commissioner, something you might want us to know? Any citizens here have any comments to make? Okay. Chip, you here for citizens' participation?
I'm here to observe what's going on,
Perfect.
how you guys work, and how you organize
Well, thank you. Okay, rezoning consensus, Mr. Downey.
Good morning, Commissioners. This matter is before you for a consensus, so you can direct us in the preparation of the final documents to include this application for map amendment. It is RZ 16-004. The property owner and the applicant is ACH LLC, and this concerns 21.436 acres of property located on the south side of Western Maryland Parkway, north of West Washington Street. So if you look at the map that's attached to your ARF, it is parcel 821. Again, the corner, the south side of Western Maryland Parkway, north of West Washington Street. That property is currently zoned ORT, and the applicant is requesting that it be rezoned to HI, which is highway interchange. At the public hearing before this board, the applicant proceeded on the basis of mistake. They gave some background indicating that the property had been zoned HI1 prior to the last comprehensive rezoning. It was then zoned to ORT, which is Office Research and Technology classification. The applicant argued that the premises on which the ORT zone was assigned proved to be incorrect, namely in that the retail sector in this area has grown and flourished given its proximity to Interstate 81 and Route 40. They pointed out other retail uses in the area, and they noted that the property owner has marketed the property for 5 years for ORT uses with no interest from tenants or purchasers. The comprehensive plan indicates that the property is within the urban growth area in the industrial flex district. There was some opposition created or presented to this request. Some residents who reside in the area indicated that they had concerns with existing traffic conditions. Some testified that they didn't want a convenience store or gas station on that parcel, that they didn't want any more traffic or truck traffic. There was concerns that the traffic could disturb tenants and residents in the area, and there was a preference expressed by the opponents that the ORT uses and office uses be maintained. In rebuttal, the applicant noted that the UGA and service area noted that the property was within the urban growth area, and they also noted that it was within the service area for water and sewer. They noted that high-density uses are allowed in the ORT zone, so traffic patterns could already occur even if this zoning were changing. The Planning Commission recommended approval of this request. So this is before the commissioners for consensus to either grant or deny the requested reclassification from ORT to HI. Based on the consensus, we will prepare proposed findings of fact and a decision and bring it back to you at a later date for formal approval and adoption, either in favor of or against the reclassification.
Okay, any questions, commissioners? Jill, do you have a question? Not right now. On the, I think I asked this question when it was brought in. How many highway interchanges are on this side of the interstate? In that general area? I think
There's just the one interchange there.
but that's on the other side of the interstate.
Yeah, I mean, the I-81 US.
Map's
40.
not marked north, east, south, or west, so I can't.
It's the US 40 right there at the first data. That's the intersection that they would be talking about. There is not an interstate access onto the old Route 40 or US 144 West Washington Street.
So for highway interchange, typically, does it require an interstate access?
We typically try to keep those districts located within a proximity. That's the purpose. If you read the purpose of the highway interchange zoning district, is to keep them in close proximity. What that means is is flexible upon definition. Obviously, we don't want it miles and miles and miles away from an interchange, but that is the purpose of the highway interchange zoning district.
Is there a interstate interchange at all right there from either direction?
Not in the direct proximity of that property.
Okay.
You would have to head north on, I think that's Western Maryland Parkway, to get to that interchange.
Okay, any other questions? If none, I guess he needs a consensus.
I'm okay with moving forward.
Same here. I say same here.
Consensus. Yeah, he's looking for a consensus to move forward.
I'm okay with moving forward.
Mr. Martin.
So you have three.
So the consensus is to grant.
No, I'm not in favor of it. No, three. I'm
There's
not
three.
those-
There's three. Commissioner Myers is not.
I didn't hear that correctly.
Consensus to grant the reclassification. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Is Stephanie here? Okay, can't do the public hearing until 10:30, correct?
Right. So you could, if Stephanie's prepared.
Okay, Ms. Slaypole, are you ready? We'll jump down to you, and then we'll come back. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
I'm Stephanie Laypole with the Office of Community Grant Management, and I'm here today seeking approval for the submission of the application for the School-Based Health Center Grant Program to the Maryland State Department of Education in the amount of $200,384 and to accept the awarded funding. Currently, there are 2 school-based health centers in Washington County which are located at South Hagerstown High School and Western Heights Middle School. The centers provide exams, prescriptions, immunizations, nutritional assessments, orders lab work, and assists in the management of chronic conditions such as asthma and diabetes. Meredith Medical Center is the vendor contracted to provide these services. They will be entering the 3rd year of a 4-year contract. Funding in the amount of $10,019 is included in the award for county administrative support. The local management board approves the submission of this proposal and recommends acceptance of the award. Are there any questions?
Any questions, commissioners? If none, we need a motion to move forward as presented.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the recommended motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay, you want to go ahead and do the FY18 Healthy Families application?
Sure. Again, I'm Stephanie Laypole with the Office of Community Grant Management, and we also have in attendance today Healthy Families Program Manager Dawn Orndorff from the Washington County Health Department. We're seeking approval for the submission of the application for the Healthy Families Home Visiting Grant to the Maryland State Department of Education in the amount of $277,993 to accept the awarded funding and to award a sole source contract to the Washington County Health Department, with the sole source contract being contingent upon approval of the application for funding. The Healthy Families Home Visiting Program is a comprehensive program modeled after a nationally renowned initiative. The goals of the program are to prevent child maltreatment through early intervention, promote healthy growth, development, and strengthening the parent-child relationship. The Washington County Health Department is the vendor contracted to provide this service. In order to be a vendor for the Healthy Families program, the vendor must be certified as qualified by Healthy Families America. This is a credentialing process, and the Washington County Health Department is the sole certified applicant in Washington County. The record shows that Washington County Health Department has been the only respondent to the request for proposals that have been issued for this program since 2007. The Office of Community Grant Management wishes to apply Section 1-106.2A1 of the Code of Local Public Laws of Washington County, Maryland, to the procurement requested. This section states that the sole source procurements are authorized and permissible when only one source exists that meets the county's requirements. This request requires approval from 4 out of the 5 commissioners in order to proceed with the sole source procurement. If approved, the following remaining steps of the process will occur as outlined by the law. Not more than 10 days after the execution and approval of a contract under this section, the procurement agency shall publish a notice of award in the newspaper of general circulation in the county, and an appropriate record of the sole source procurement shall be maintained as required. The Office of Community Grant Management receives $6,950 for administrative expenses. The total funding allocated to the Washington County Health Department is $271,043. No county funds are involved in this award. The Local Management Board approves the submission of this proposal and recommends the acceptance of the award. Karen Luther, Director of Purchasing, concurs with the sole source procurement request. Are there any questions?
Okay, no questions. Motion to move forward as presented.
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay, 10:30, we'll move down to our public hearing. Agricultural Preservation District applications. Mr. Seifert, Mr. Boggs, how are you two today?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Just a brief history of our 10-year district program, and then Chris will get into the specifics of the 5 applicants. Back in 1990, the county commissioners appointed a blue ribbon panel to expand the ag land preservation program. And one of the items that the group came up with the approval of the commissioners was the 10-year ag land preservation district. Under the provisions of the district, the land must stay in agricultural use for a minimum of 10 years, and in exchange, the property owner pays no county tax on the farmland, none on the farm buildings, and then up to $711 of credit on the farmhouse. The 5 applicants before you today the tax forgiveness, and this is in the form of taxes not collected, will total about $4,100 per year, or a little over $41,000 for the 10 years. The total cost of all of the tax credits per year for this year is $387,209, and again, that's in the form of taxes not collected. So this is a binding 10-year contract, must stay in agricultural use for that period. The parameters are the farm must be at least 50 acres standalone or 20 acres if contiguous with other permanent or other land preservation properties. And it must have at least 50% of soil classes 1, 2, and 3, the better soils. To date, we have, with these approvals today, we would have a little over 20,000 acres just in the ag districts. If there's no questions at this point, I'll turn it over to Chris.
You heard Eric go over the parameters. Obviously, they have to be ag assessed. They have to be at least 50 acres or 20 acres if they're contiguous and have at least 50% class 1, 2, or 3 soils. All 5 of these properties meet those parameters. More specifically, we'll go over each individual property. We have the Harry and Martha Grove property that is at 19347 Lappins Road in Boonesboro. It is partially wooded, used for crop and hay. There are no dwellings or buildings on the property itself, but it does meet all of the requirements. Next, we have the John and Wendy Meyer property, contiguous to a Maryland Ag Land easement. It is one of the larger properties, 103 acres, located on Neck Road in Williamsport. It has some woods, but it's mostly cropland and some pasture around the farm buildings. The Robert and Nancy Foltz property is actually right next door to the Grove property. This one's at 19349 Lappins Road in Boonesboro. It's similar property, a similar size. Hay. There are some buildings on the property, a lot of woodland, but it meets all of the requirements. Next, we have the Mark and Claire Seibert property on St. Paul Road in Clear Spring, to 71 acres. It is mostly cropland with a little woods on the northeastern border. And then we have the Jim Burns, Angela Neal, and Mary McQuaid property at 8428 Sharpsburg Pike and Fairplay. About half of it is crop, the other half is woods. There are several farm buildings, some of a historic nature, but again, it meets all of our requirements to be in an ag district, and all 5 of these properties are well suited for that use.
Okay, any questions, commissioners? Okay, we have any citizens here that would care to comment on anything here? Okay, so I guess.
I do have one question, just so I understand. Underneath the fiscal impact, that $41,186 amount, that's what we would have received in property taxes if we do not approve this, correct?
Correct.
That's over a 10-year period.
Over 10 years.
Over 10 years, yes.
And this program differs from a few of the other programs that you've brought before us in that we're not paying money for the easement, we're foregoing property taxes for the easement.
Well, and this is a temporary 10-year district. Okay. It is not a permanent easement, but you are correct. We are not paying money. We are just foregoing the property tax.
The agreement essentially is saying for the next 10 years, there will be no residential, commercial, or industrial type development on that property. It will stay an agricultural property.
Okay, you all want to move forward today? Okay. All public hearing is now concluded. We don't have to do an oath on this one. So we don't have to do an oath on this public hearing. So if you all want to move forward as presented, we'll do that. Move to approve the 10-year agricultural land preservation districts for the following 5 property owners: Grove, Meyer, Foltz, Seibert, and Burns.
Make it.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the recommended motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're looking for Miss Luther. Let's take a short recess. We'll have Mr. Slocum get a hold of Karen, and we can do the contract award. And I think I covered everything on the agenda. desk is back to Vicki. Okay, I have those done. Are we on? Welcome back. Contract award, stop-loss insurance coverage, Karen Luther. And I will add that Commissioner Barr left to take care of some very, very important county business. Hopefully he'll return back with us later this afternoon.
Okay,
How are you today?
fine. I'd like to introduce Bill Hudak and also Steve Dillman from CBiz, our consultants on this procurement. This is a recommendation for stop-loss insurance coverage, and stop-loss insurance coverage is designed to limit claim coverage losses on a specific amount of $175,000 per claimant. And this is to assist in keeping the financial reserves intact in a self-funded plan in case of catastrophic claims. We do have a recommendation to award a contract for stop-loss insurance to the responsible proposer, Sun Life Financial of Wellesley Hills, Massachusetts. They submitted the lowest price with no special terms for high claimants for a total annual premium of $573,663, and that's with specific stop-loss at $175,000 per claimant. The quotes were advertised on eMaryland Marketplace, on the county website, also in the local newspaper. The direct notice of the solicitation was also emailed to 9 potential providers of the insurance. We did receive a total of 6 quotes, but 2 were received late, so only 4 were considered. The amount budgeted for health insurance and stop-loss insurance coverage in fiscal year 2018 is $15.1 million, and that's a 1.74% increase over the present year's budget. It is recommended that the award be made as indicated, and it has the concurrence of the Director of Health and Human Services and the County Benefits Coordinator. I'm going to turn it over to Bill Hudak. He's going to go over the attachments to the agenda report form.
Thank you, Karen. Hi, my name is Bill Hudak. I'm with CBiz. Again, we're the benefit consultants for Washington County. I've been with CBiz for just a few months, but I've been in the insurance industry for about 10 years in benefit consulting. So we've assisted with the stop-loss marketing in April and early May of 2017. Just a little bit of background, and feel free to interrupt at any time if you have any questions. Washington County is self-funded, so in order to limit the exposure of the large shock claims that may occur, that's why we have stop-loss coverage. There's 2 different types of stop-loss coverage. There's individual, that covers the amount of claims that any one person can incur. It limits the exposure for the county. And there's also aggregate that kicks into play after those individuals have hit their specific amounts, and it caps on an entire population. The stop-loss marketing that we're talking about here is specific. Currently, you have $175,000 for any one individual. Anything above that, the insurance carrier picks up. We requested that, just a little bit of background on the different types of contracts. So I prepared this exhibit. We requested the contract basis be on a 24/12. So what that means is it picks up claims that are incurred over a 24-month period, but it's paid in this next fiscal year. So anything incurred from July 2016 through June of 2018, but paid in that 12-month period of July 2017 to June 2018. There's also a note on one of the carriers where they provided one that's paid in 12, and that just basically picks up anything, including run out from the previous insurance carriers. Right now, your insurance carriers that you coordinate with for purposes of paying claims. You've got Aetna and Aetna for medical, and Express Scripts, which is a carved-out pharmacy benefit manager. Prior to that, it was Care First Administrators, and so that's where that paid in 12 may pick up some of the run-out from the other carrier. We had four insurance carriers provide quotes that, in a timely fashion during this RFP process. Surprisingly, the incumbent couldn't get theirs in on time, but we encourage them to continue to quote in the future. Sun Life Financial provided the most aggressive quotes. And the thing is, you have to remember, we do this every year for the county. We always do stop loss to make sure that you get the best rates, that appropriate coverage that matches your benefits. So Sun Life was actually the stop loss carrier prior to your current carrier, which is Voya ReliaStar. So they came in really aggressive, and they wanted to, provide a strong offer for you guys. On this first page, I provided an exhibit. We look at, whenever we do these stop loss exercises, we want to see where you currently are, and we also look at different thresholds. We also looked at $200,000 and $225,000, just to see how your experience has been, and to see if it's something where maybe the county might be willing to take on additional risk if it makes sense. So you've got Sun Life, Tokyo Marine, Symetra, and Aetna. Sun Life offered two options. One, as you see at the bottom, special terms, there were lasers at renewal, and there was also an option where there were no lasers at renewal. So what happened with stop loss, sometimes if you have a high-cost claimant that they know that it's going to be a very high-cost claimant, instead of building that into the rates, they may do something what's called as lasering. So basically they say, we can't insure this one individual because we know it's going to be a high-cost claimant. So we may put a higher limit on that individual instead of the $175 that you currently have. So Sun Life provided one where there's no laser, currently at renewal, which is next year. And again, we do this every year. And then the other option is where they have no laser. So they basically, and it's no laser up to a 50% increase. So it's basically sort of like a financial option that says, if we get this other option, it'll basically, the insurance carrier is obligated to take on additional risk next year at renewal, but they can still increase the rates 50%. So we feel strong that, since we do this every year, and, we will continue to get a very strong offering. The only situation that I can imagine is if you have some very sick individuals with very chronic conditions where, when I was doing the math, it was like $500,000, $500,000 or more consistently, then that's the only time that would be an option, that you may want to go through that. So the first page, at the very bottom, the annual premium, again, $573,633. This is a snapshot given the current census that we used of 211 singles and 600 families. There is a slight charge for administration purposes, coordinating with your medical carrier to provide the appropriate reporting to the stop-loss carrier. Now, this bottom portion does provide some interesting insight into see what the premium change would be over, if you were to increase it to a higher stop-loss threshold. But there's something that you have to remember, and this gets onto the second page. When you increase the stop-loss threshold, you're also taking on additional risk. So what I tried to do was I tried to model what that risk was. I looked at historical experience that you've had over the last 3 years, and I projected claims forward and took an average. And on average, if you move from $175,000 to $200,000, you're taking on an additional $67,000 worth of risk. If you move from $175,000 to $225,000, it's an additional $117,000. And this is the experience that you can see of the members over 100,000 are at the bottom. So you could see how I, took those claims, applied the compounding effect, and sort of just averaged it out. So yes, not only if you increase the threshold, you reduce the premium, but you take on additional risk. So there's sort of a net effect that happens. So even with the risk modeling, Sun Life's continued to have such a strong offer. Again, this exercise is just, these are estimates, so I can't guarantee that this is exactly how much you would save. But it's good exercise to look back at what you've historically had. And again, the recommendation that we're going with for purposes of Washington County, Sun Life had a very strong offering. So I'd recommend the first option, which is lasers at renewal.
Okay, any questions, Commissioners?
I thought Aetna was pulling out of Maryland. Aetna's pulling out of Maryland for the individual exchanges. Yeah, but they're still very active in the state, in the group market.
What are individual exchanges? What would be a good definition of it?
So under ACA, under the Affordable Care Act, there were exchanges that were set up that were so the states are running them. So the state of Maryland is running an exchange for individuals to participate in buy health insurance. Aetna was one of the insurers for that, but they've elected because the risk within those pools is running so poorly. You're seeing many carriers pull out of that. It's not a reflection on Aetna, or they're not financially having trouble. I mean, they're doing fine. So that's not a concern. Shouldn't be a concern for the county.
Okay, any other questions, comments, Commissioners? Need a motion to move forward with the recommended motion in your packet. So moved. Motion a second. Move forward with the recommended motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 4-0. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.